There is a beautiful power in silence. We often think that to achieve success, we must shout, argue, prove ourselves, or constantly defend who we are. But life has its own rhythm. Just like a seed doesn't scream while growing under the soil, yet one day it becomes a mighty tree, we too can grow silently and let our actions make the loudest noise. Have you noticed how the ocean is vast, deep, and calm? It doesn't need to prove its greatness. People come from all over the world to admire it. But a small stream makes a lot of noise, rushing here and there, yet it never grows beyond its limits. In the same way, when we learn to be quiet, patient, and calm, we conserve our energy and channel it towards building the life we truly desire. Silence is not weakness, it is strength. It is the ability to hold your peace when others want you to react. It is the power to walk away when arguments invite you to waste your energy. It is the art of listening more, learning more, and letting your actions speak louder than words ever can. The most successful people in the world are not those who talk the most, but those who listen, observe, reflect, and then act decisively. Every time you practice silence, you protect your focus. Every time you choose peace over reaction, you grow stronger inside. So stay quiet, not because you don't have answers, but because you are building your life brick by brick. And one day, when your success stands tall, the world will be speechless. People often misunderstand silence. They think staying quiet means you don't have the courage to speak, that you lack confidence, or that you don't have answers. But in reality, silence is one of the deepest forms of strength. It is the quiet force that allows a person to rise without disturbance, to grow without distractions, and to act without needing approval. When you stay silent, you're not losing your voice. You're gaining control over it. You are deciding when, where, and how to use it most effectively. Just like a warrior does not draw his sword at every small threat, a wise person does not use words carelessly. Imagine a seed buried under the soil. It does not announce to the world, "Oh, look, I am becoming a tree." It does not scream to demand recognition or attention. It stays quietly hidden, absorbing nutrients, gathering strength, and preparing itself for the right moment. And one day, without noise, it breaks through the ground, grows taller, spreads its branches, and gives shade, fruits, and life to others. And that is the beauty of silence. That is the beauty of silence. It allows growth without the need for constant validation. In the same way, when we are silent, we give ourselves the time and space to grow internally. Our mind gathers wisdom, our character gains stability, and our spirit strengthens. Silence also protects us from unnecessary battles. In life, there will always be people who try to provoke us, who speak against us, or who misunderstand us. If we react to every word thrown at us, we waste precious energy that could have been invested in building our dreams. Silence is not about avoiding confrontation. It is about choosing your battles wisely. When you don't answer every critic, it doesn't mean you are weak. It simply means your growth is too important to be interrupted by noise. It is a sign of maturity when you realize that not every situation deserves a response. Furthermore, silence sharpens your inner clarity. In a world full of noise, social media voices, constant notifications, endless conversations, our minds rarely get the chance to think deeply. But when we embrace silence, even for a few moments each day, we begin to see things more clearly. We understand our priorities, our goals, and our direction. Silence allows the heart to speak and the mind to listen. It is in those quiet spaces that the best ideas are born, the strongest decisions are made, and the deepest healing takes place. The strongest people are often the quietest. They don't need to prove themselves with words because their actions do the talking. A tree does not clap its branches to announce it is growing. Its height, its fruits, and its shade show its worth. Similarly, when you stay quiet and focused, your results will eventually speak louder than anything you could ever say. People may doubt you when you are silent, but they cannot deny you once your success becomes visible. So silence is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is patience. It is power. It allows you to grow steadily like a seed under the soil, like a tree standing tall without noise. And when the time is right, your silence will transform into strength, and your growth will become undeniable. When we look at nature, it teaches us some of the most profound lessons about life. One of the most powerful metaphors we can learn from is the seed. When a farmer plants a seed, it does not immediately grow into a tree or produce fruits overnight. For a long time, nothing seems to happen. The ground looks the same, the soil appears undisturbed, and to the outside world, it looks as though there is no progress. But beneath that quiet soil, the seed is busy working. Its roots are stretching deeper, searching for water, absorbing minerals, and building a foundation strong enough to sustain growth. Nobody sees this process, nobody celebrates it, yet it is the most crucial stage of development. Without this hidden work, the seed would never survive when it finally comes out into the open. In the same way, real progress in life often happens silently away from the spotlight. We live in a world that constantly pushes us to show results instantly, to prove our worth quickly, and to broadcast every small achievement. But true success does not work that way. The most meaningful growth happens when nobody is watching. It is in those quiet hours of practice, discipline, and persistence that character is formed. A musician does not become great on stage. He becomes great in silence when he practices alone for hours, failing again and again until his craft is perfected. An athlete does not win medals in front of the crowd. He wins them during the lonely training sessions where sweat and struggle go unnoticed. Just like the seed, their progress happens underground where the world cannot see, but the results later speak for themselves. The beauty of this process is that silence protects us. When growth happens quietly, there is less distraction, less interference, and less judgment. If the seed tried to grow too early, before its roots strong enough, it would wither away at the first challenge. Similarly, if we rush to showcase ourselves before building a solid foundation, we may crumble under pressure. Silence gives us the space to prepare, to strengthen, and to become ready for the challenges ahead. It allows us to build resilience without unnecessary noise. Another lesson we learn from the seed is patience. In silence, growth takes time. Nothing meaningful happens instantly. Just because others cannot see your progress does not mean you are not moving forward. Many times, people will doubt you, question you, or even mock you when they don't see visible results. But the seed does not argue with the soil. It does not complain that no one is applauding its efforts. It simply continues its silent work, trusting the process, knowing that one day its growth will be undeniable. When that moment comes and the seed finally breaks through the ground, it does not need to explain itself. Its presence is proof. The tree does not need to speak. It stands tall, it provides shade, it bears fruit, and it silently becomes a source of life for others. The same is true for us. When we dedicate ourselves to silent growth, working hard, staying disciplined, and building ourselves internally, one day our results will stand as evidence of our efforts. At that point, no words will be needed because silence will have already done the work of shaping us. In life, we meet two kinds of people: those who make a lot of noise to be noticed, and those who quietly put their heads down and work. The first group thrives on attention. They want the world to see them, hear them, and acknowledge them even before they have achieved anything meaningful. Their words are louder than their actions, and their energy is spent in proving to others that they are important. The second group, however, is different. They do not feel the need to constantly announce themselves. They understand that the real proof of worth lies not in how loudly you talk, but in what you silently accomplish. Noise is often a mask. People who are loud use words to create an image, to fill a void, or to gain validation from others. But real power is never noisy. Consider fire. A spark makes a crackling sound, but a steady flame burns silently, radiating warmth and light without fuss. In the same way, those who conserve their energy by staying quiet can channel it into meaningful actions that bring lasting results. Talking consumes energy, but action produces results. If all our energy is wasted in speaking, little is left for doing. Think about the student who spends more time telling others how much he studies instead of actually studying. Or the worker who talks about how hard he works, but produces very little output. On the surface, they may seem dedicated, but over time, their results betray the truth. Meanwhile, the quiet student who spends less time talking and more time learning surprises everyone with his success. The silent worker who does not boast but delivers results consistently earns respect and recognition without demanding it. This is the difference between seeking attention and conserving energy for action. True achievers are often quiet observers. They listen more than they speak. They notice what others miss, and they use silence as a tool to prepare themselves. They don't feel the need to prove their worth in words because they know that eventually their actions will speak louder than anything they could ever say. The world may overlook them in the beginning, but when their results appear, no one can ignore them. Another important point to remember is that loudness creates distraction, while silence creates focus. When we are constantly trying to be heard, our minds scatter. We become more concerned about how people see us than about the actual work we are doing. On the other hand, when we choose quietness, our focus sharpens. We no longer waste energy on impressions. We use it to make progress. Over time, the compound effect of focused action outshines the short-lived attention that loudness brings. History is filled with examples of individuals who changed the world, not through loud declarations, but through quiet, consistent effort. Your consistent effort. They were not busy convincing others of their greatness. They were busy building it. And when the results of their actions finally emerged, the whole world noticed. The truth is, attention gained by noise is temporary, but respect earned through silent effort is permanent. So it is wise to conserve energy. Speak less, observe more, and act with purpose. Instead of wasting words on seeking attention, let your life become the testimony of your strength. For in the end, those who are loud may be noticed for a moment, but those who are silent achievers are remembered forever. When you stand before the ocean, you feel its majesty. It stretches as far as the eye can see, its depth is beyond imagination, and its silence carries a sense of power that words cannot describe. The ocean does not roar constantly to prove its greatness. It simply exists in its vastness, and people from all around the world travel just to sit by its shore in awe. Contrast this with a small stream. A stream rushes, splashes, and makes noise at every turn, trying to be noticed. But no matter how loud it is, it remains confined, shallow, and limited in reach. This is the difference between true strength and the need to show strength. In life, people are often like streams. They make noise to prove they are important. They rush in many directions trying to gain attention, but their influence remains shallow. Their energy is scattered in words, complaints, or constant self-promotion. And because of that, they never build real depth. The ocean, on the other hand, teaches us the art of calmness. Its silence is not emptiness, it is depth. It is fullness. It has so much to give: fish to sustain life, waves to inspire poets, and horizons to calm wandering hearts. Yet it does not need to make a noise about its worth. This is a reflection of how we should live. We do not need to announce our abilities at every opportunity. Instead, we should focus on building depth within ourselves: knowledge, wisdom, character, discipline. Just like the ocean, the deeper we become, the less we need to prove. Depth creates its own respect. People are naturally drawn to those who are calm, steady, and profound because they sense there is something powerful beneath the surface. Noise is often a sign of limitation. The stream is small, so it tries to appear bigger by making sound. In the same way, people who lack depth often use words to exaggerate their worth. They talk about what they will do, what they have done, or what others should think of them. But the deeper a person becomes, the less they feel the need to speak about themselves. Their work, their presence, and their actions do the talking. There is also another lesson from the ocean. It accepts rivers from all directions without resistance. It doesn't argue with the rivers, it doesn't reject them. It simply receives and grows. Similarly, when we are calm and vast like the ocean, we learn to accept life's challenges, experiences, and even people with openness. This acceptance expands us, giving us wisdom that noisy and shallow minds cannot achieve. The calmness of the ocean is not weakness, it is control. Control. Even when storms rage, even when waves rise high, the ocean eventually returns to peace. This teaches us resilience. Life will always bring difficulties, but if we have depth, we can face them without being broken. A shallow stream may be disrupted by a single rock, but the ocean swallows mountains into itself and continues to exist. That is the power of calmness born out of depth. So let us learn from the ocean. Let us learn from the ocean. Let us cultivate inner depth instead of outer noise. Let us become calm instead of restless, vast instead of narrow, and giving instead of demanding. For just as people are drawn to the majesty of the ocean, they will also be drawn to the quiet strength within us when we choose to live with depth rather than noise. One of the most underrated skills in life is the ability to listen. Many people hear, but very few truly listen. The difference lies in silence. When we are silent, our ears and our hearts open up. We begin to notice things that are usually drowned in noise. We absorb knowledge more effectively. We understand people more deeply. And we gain insights that endless talking would never allow us to discover. Silence is not just the absence of sound. It is the presence of awareness. Think of a conversation where both people are trying to speak at the same time. Neither really hears the other, and in the end, nothing meaningful is exchanged. But when one person pauses, listens carefully, and processes what the other is saying, true connection is built. Listening in silence is not a passive act. It is an active engagement. It requires humility to put our own thoughts aside and give space to another person's words. And through this humility, we learn things we could never learn otherwise. Great leaders, teachers, and thinkers are often excellent listeners. They don't rush to speak because they know wisdom is gained by listening first. A wise mind does not need to be the loudest voice in the room. It needs to be the quietest observer. Silence gives us this gift. It trains us to notice the unspoken, the body language, the tone, the emotions hidden beneath words. By listening deeply, we understand not only what people are saying, but also what they truly mean. Silence is also the foundation of learning. When we study, when we read, when we reflect, it is silence that allows information to sink in. Imagine a classroom filled with constant chatter. No one would learn anything. Learning requires focus, and focus requires quietness. The same applies to life. If our minds are always noisy with unnecessary thoughts or constant chatter, we miss the lessons that life is trying to teach us. But when we cultivate silence, we notice the details. We see patterns, we connect ideas, and our understanding deepens. Even in nature, silence is a teacher. Walk into a forest, and you will hear the whispers of leaves, the rhythm of birds, the flow of water. These sounds are gentle, not overpowering, yet they carry profound lessons. You begin to realize how every part of nature lives in harmony without chaos. If we are too noisy within ourselves, we miss this harmony. But in silence, we feel connected to the world in a way that words cannot describe. Another beauty of silence is that it allows us to listen to ourselves. Often we are so caught up in external noise that we forget the voice within, the voice of intuition, conscience, and wisdom. When we are silent, that inner voice becomes clearer. It guides us, warns us, and inspires us. Many of the greatest decisions people have ever made came not from noise and discussion, but from moments of stillness where clarity emerged. Silence is a mirror. It reflects the truth of others when we listen, and it reflects our own truth when we pause to hear ourselves. Talking may make us feel noticed for a while, but listening in silence makes us grow. Every time we choose to be silent, we give ourselves the chance to learn something new, to understand a person better, or to discover a deeper meaning about life itself. Life constantly presents us with opportunities to react. Someone criticizes us, someone misunderstands us, someone provokes us with words or actions. In those moments, our first instinct is often to defend ourselves, to argue, or to respond immediately. But every time we react unnecessarily, we spend energy, mental, emotional, and even physical, that could have been invested in something more meaningful. Arguments may win us temporary satisfaction, but they rarely help us grow. Growth requires focus, patience, and energy directed in the right direction. Think about a person who argues all the time. Their days are filled with debates, anger, and emotional outbursts. At the end of it all, what have they gained? Perhaps they proved a point. Perhaps they silenced someone, but they have lost something more precious. Peace of mind and the energy that could have been spent improving themselves. On the other hand, the person who walks away from arguments, who chooses silence over reaction, preserves their strength. That preserved strength becomes fuel for building their goals, developing their skills, and nurturing their relationships. The truth is, not every situation deserves a response. Silence does not mean weakness. It means wisdom. It means you value your energy too much to waste it on people or situations that add no value to your life. Just as we wouldn't pour clean water into a dirty drain, we should not pour our energy into meaningless arguments. Every reaction we give feeds the negativity of the moment. The less we react, the more power we keep for ourselves. Growth happens when our focus is steady. But arguments scatter our focus. They distract us from our path. Imagine climbing a mountain and stopping at every step to argue with someone throwing stones. You may win the argument, but you will never reach the top. Those who succeed are the ones who keep moving forward, ignoring distractions along the way. Their silence is not surrender. It is strategy. It is strategy. It is a choice to prioritize growth over ego. Another danger of unnecessary reactions is that they often escalate situations. Words spoken in anger cannot be taken back. A small disagreement can turn into a lasting conflict simply because one could not remain silent. But silence, when chosen wisely, has the power to dissolve conflicts. When one person does not fuel the fire, the flames eventually die out. This is not weakness. This is strength, because it takes far more courage to remain calm than to shout back. Preserving energy is essential because life demands so much from us. To grow in our careers, to nurture relationships, to build dreams, to care for ourselves, all of this requires energy. If we spend most of it on meaningless reactions, little is left for the things that truly matter. That is why the wise choose their responses carefully. They know that silence in the moment may feel difficult, but it saves them the strength they need to build a future. So whenever we are tempted to argue or to react, we should ask ourselves, is this worth my energy? Will this help me grow or will it drain me? More often than not, silence is the wiser answer. For silence preserves energy, and preserved energy builds strength, and strength directed toward growth creates a life of true success. In today's world, it's easy to be distracted. Social media, endless notifications, and the constant pressure to be seen and heard make it seem like success is about how much we talk, share, or broadcast ourselves. But the truth is far simpler and far more profound. True success is rarely loud. It is built quietly in the spaces where focus, patience, and discipline meet. Those who talk endlessly about what they will do or what they hope to achieve often lack the quiet consistency needed to reach their goals. Success is less about words and more about actions performed steadily over time. Focus is the first pillar of success. When we remain silent, we allow ourselves to concentrate fully on the work that matters. Focus prevents our energy from scattering in multiple directions. It helps us prioritize what is truly important rather than getting caught up in trivial distractions. A person who is focused does not need to boast. Their results speak for themselves. They understand that every small, deliberate step brings them closer to their ultimate goal, and they dedicate themselves fully to the journey without being swayed by the opinions or noise around them. Patience is equally essential. True success does not happen overnight. It grows slowly, like a tree taking years to bear fruit. The temptation to seek instant recognition, to rush or to show the world every small progress can lead to disappointment and burnout. But when we cultivate patience, we trust the process. We understand that consistent effort over time, even when it goes unnoticed, compounds into extraordinary results. Silence in this context becomes a tool for endurance. By not constantly seeking validation, we conserve our energy for what matters. Long-term growth or discipline is the final ingredient. Talent, luck, and intelligence are valuable, but without discipline, they cannot produce sustainable success. Discipline is the quiet daily commitment to doing what must be done, even when it is uncomfortable or inconvenient. It is waking up early to practice, to study, to work, or to improve oneself when others are distracted. It is showing up every day, even when progress seems slow or invisible. Discipline thrives in silence because it is internal, self-motivated, and not dependent on the approval of others. The people who achieve the most in life often talk the least about their plans. They do not announce their strategies, and they do not broadcast their struggles. Instead, they quietly build layer by layer, step by step. When success arrives, it does so as a natural result of their focus, patience, and discipline. Others may be surprised by the achievements because they never saw the countless hours of silent work that led to them. Another aspect to understand is that constant talking can be a distraction. When we spend more time explaining our intentions, defending our ideas, or convincing others, we divert energy from the actual work. Words may impress for a while, but they cannot replace action. On the contrary, actions performed with quiet determination have lasting impact. A person who works silently, who refuses to be distracted by appearances or chatter, eventually reaches heights that the loudest voices cannot touch. Ultimately, success is born from the mastery of self, controlling distractions, enduring delays, and committing to consistent effort. Words alone cannot create it, but focus, patience, and discipline can. Those who understand this principle do not need to constantly talk about what they are doing. The results, in time, speak louder than any words ever could. In the chaos of modern life, our minds are constantly bombarded with noise. Notifications, conversations, responsibilities, and opinions swirl around us, demanding attention at every moment. In such an environment, clarity becomes a rare and precious gift. This is why quietness is so powerful. It is the space where inner peace is born, and from inner peace, clarity emerges. When we cultivate quietness, we are not just avoiding external noise, we are creating a calm environment within ourselves, where wisdom can flourish. Inner peace is more than a fleeting feeling of calm. It is a steady, grounded state of mind, where emotions do not dictate reactions and thoughts do not scatter in confusion. When we are silent, we pause the endless chatter in our minds and allow ourselves to reflect. This reflection is essential because it separates impulsive reactions from thoughtful choices. A person without inner peace may react to situations hastily, often creating problems instead of solutions. But someone who has embraced quietness navigates life with grace and intentionality, making decisions that align with their long-term goals rather than short-term impulses. Quietness also gives us the ability to listen to others, to our environment, and to our own intuition. When the mind is constantly noisy, we overlook important details, misinterpret situations, and fail to notice opportunities. Silence, however, sharpens our perception. It allows us to pay attention to the subtle cues that often hold the key to wise decisions. Just as a calm lake reflects the sky perfectly, a quiet mind reflects reality clearly, free from distortions caused by distraction or emotional turbulence. Moreover, inner peace nurtured through quietness builds resilience. Life is unpredictable, filled with challenges, setbacks, and disappointments. Setbacks and disappointment are Hatteru. A mind at peace is not easily shaken by external turbulence. It maintains perspective and composure, which is essential for making decisions under pressure. People who rush, panic, or react noisily are often blindsided by circumstances. Those who cultivate quietness, on the other hand, maintain control, see opportunities in adversity, and act with intention rather than reaction. Decision-making itself becomes more effective when approached from a place of calm. A cluttered, noisy mind tends to overthink, worry, and misjudge situations. It often focuses on fears or what others might think rather than the facts at hand. Silence allows us to filter out unnecessary thoughts and distractions, focusing on what is truly important. In that space, we can weigh options clearly, anticipate consequences, and choose the path that serves our highest purpose. The wisdom that emerges from quiet reflection is far more reliable than the quick judgments made in haste or under pressure. Another powerful aspect of quietness is self-awareness. When we are still, we can observe our own patterns, motives, and emotions. We understand why we want what we want and whether our actions are aligned with our values. Self-knowledge is crucial for wise decision-making because it prevents us from being driven by impulses or external pressures. Peace and clarity are inseparable. One nurtures the other, and together they guide us toward choices that lead to fulfillment rather than regret. In a world that glorifies constant activity and noise, cultivating quietness is a radical act of wisdom. It allows us to step back, to breathe, and to observe before acting. Inner peace is not just a luxury, it is the foundation upon which clarity, judgment, and effective action are built. Those who master quietness discover that life becomes simpler, decisions become wiser, and the path forward is illuminated by a calm, confident, and clear mind. In a world full of noise, promises, and opinions, words often lose their value. Anyone can talk about what they will do, how great they are, or how much they plan to achieve. But words alone are empty unless backed by action. True influence and respect are earned through results, not declarations. The phrase actions speak louder than words is not just a saying. It is a principle that guides the lives of those who achieve meaningful success. Results are tangible, undeniable, and lasting, while words can easily fade, be forgotten, or be misinterpreted. Think about people who constantly boast about their intentions. They announce their plans, tell everyone what they are capable of, and promise changes or achievements. To the outside world, it may seem impressive, but without visible results, such talk holds little weight. On the other hand, someone who quietly works, dedicates themselves to learning, practicing, and improving every day, eventually produces outcomes that are impossible to ignore. These results speak for themselves. They don't need explanation, defense, or justification. They carry authority because they are real and measurable. Action also commands respect in ways words never can. Words can be challenged, doubted, or dismissed, but actions leave evidence. A person who consistently delivers, who shows up and produces, builds credibility naturally. Others may underestimate them at first, but over time, consistent effort and visible results cannot be ignored. History and life itself are filled with examples of individuals who were once silent, unassuming, or underestimated, but whose actions eventually left a legacy that words alone could never create. Moreover, relying on words instead of actions can be dangerous because it creates a false sense of accomplishment. Talking about goals or achievements may feel productive in the moment, but it does not move us forward. Action, however, requires effort, persistence, and discipline, and it always brings progress, even if gradual. Every small step taken toward a goal is a result in itself and brings us closer to the ultimate success we envision. Words may inspire others, but actions transform lives. There is also a deeper lesson in letting actions speak. It cultivates humility and patience. When we focus on results rather than recognition, we do not seek constant approval or validation. We understand that the process is more important than the applause, and that real success often grows quietly before it becomes visible to others. People who talk excessively may seek immediate recognition, but those who act consistently develop a long-term impact that outlives any temporary attention. In addition, actions have a ripple effect. While words can influence a few, tangible results inspire many. A single act of persistence, creativity, or courage can motivate others far more effectively than 1,000 speeches. People are drawn to what is proven, to what works, and to what produces outcomes. Results not only validate effort, but they also create trust, respect, and admiration. Ultimately, letting actions speak louder than words is a practice of integrity. It aligns what we say with what we do and ensures that our impact is real. Words may capture attention briefly, but actions command attention permanently. By choosing to act, to deliver, and to focus on results, we demonstrate the most convincing proof of our abilities, character, and determination. In the end, the world responds not to promises, but to achievements. And those achievements leave an enduring mark that words alone never could. Silence is often misunderstood. Many people associate it with weakness, passivity, or indecision. But in reality, silence is one of the greatest sources of personal power. It is the space where focus, reflection, and discipline converge. When we choose to remain silent, we are not surrendering or giving up. We are conserving energy, observing wisely, and preparing ourselves for meaningful action. Over time, this silence becomes a reservoir of strength that allows us to act decisively, think clearly, and respond effectively to life's challenges. Think about the natural world. The tallest mountains do not shout their presence, they simply stand, unwavering, commanding respect through their sheer size and presence. Rivers carve valleys quietly over centuries, and trees grow tall without ever announcing their progress. Similarly, our silence is the quiet preparation of our own growth and power. While others are busy seeking attention, arguing, or boasting, we are quietly building, learning, and strengthening ourselves. This hidden work is what ultimately turns silence into undeniable power. Silence also sharpens perception. When the mind is quiet, we are better able to observe, understand, and anticipate. We notice the subtleties that noisy minds overlook. We see opportunities where others see obstacles. We respond to challenges with composure rather than reacting impulsively. In this way, silence is not emptiness. It is an active state of awareness that empowers us to make decisions that have lasting impact. People may underestimate those who remain quiet, but it is often the silent observer who is the most prepared and the most capable when the moment to act arrives. One of the most powerful aspects of silence is its ability to amplify the value of our achievements. When we focus on results rather than words, our success becomes undeniable. Words can be challenged, doubted, or ignored, but tangible accomplishments cannot. The project completed, a goal achieved, a life transformed. These speak volumes without the need for explanation. Silence allows us to concentrate on producing results that are so compelling that they naturally draw recognition, respect, and influence. In this way, silence transforms effort into power and presence. Moreover, silence cultivates patience and resilience. Life rarely moves in a straight line, and success is rarely instant. There will be delays, setbacks, and moments when it feels as though nothing is happening. Those who are constantly talking, complaining, or seeking validation may lose hope. But the silent persevere. They understand that every quiet step, every disciplined effort, and every small improvement contributes to a larger outcome. In the end, this patient persistence turns silence into a source of unstoppable power. Finally, silence gives us control. It prevents us from reacting to every provocation, argument, or distraction. It allows us to conserve our energy, sharpen our focus, and direct our strength toward meaningful action. When our achievements eventually surface, they speak more loudly than any argument or declaration ever could. The world may have doubted us, ignored us, or underestimated us, but the proof of our work becomes impossible to deny. Achievements born from quiet effort carry authority, credibility, and respect that words alone can never generate. In the end, silence is not absence. It is preparation. It is strategy. It is power waiting to be revealed. When we embrace silence, channel it wisely, and pair it with consistent action, our achievements become our voice. Our life speaks on our behalf. And when others finally witness the results of our quiet determination, they realize that true strength was never about noise. It was about the calm, persistent, and focused effort that turns silence into power.